This month, normally when we host the event, I need my glasses to see across the room to write, and I don't because it's right in front of me. This is great.
Okay,
we can get started anytime now.
Anytime? Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the Women in Business celebrations. I'm Tara Dawn from Fresh 93.1. Want to thank you for coming by today. It's hard to believe it was a year ago today that I hosted the Women in Business Awards at the Liberty North Banquet Hall in front of well over 200 people, I think. And that was the very last event that I did. I've been inside working from home ever since. All the events from that point on have been canceled. So it's so weird. If you told me last year that we'd be hosting it from my basement, and it isn't as good here, I would not have believed you. But for those of you that have just arrived, I did apologize for this earlier. I do have some unruly cats, so I will try to keep them under control for the meeting. But we're so glad you're here. This week is all about celebrating women. And I can't think of a time when women should be celebrated more than over the last year during this pandemic. Women have been called upon to do feats of greatness that they've never been called on before. Homeschooling while working from home, looking after a home, all the stresses involved surrounding the pandemic. And somehow, you've done it. Women are so strong, and it's been so inspiring to see the stories, the grassroots stories, the bigger stories about how women have triumphed, survived, and given lessons on how to do it over the last year. So I think although the celebrations are different this year, there's never been a better time to celebrate women in society. We've done well through this pandemic, and we should all be patting ourselves on the back for the work that's been done. We have so many exciting things to come, so I don't want to hold us up anymore. I know I'm so excited about today's keynote speakers. So before we get to that though, we have some incredible sponsors that have made it possible for us to be here today, including Scotiabank. Amber Lovejoy is here to say a few words, and Kim Marshall from Innovative Automation. Thank you for being a part of this, and here they are to say a few words.
Scotiabank is proud to support the 2021 Barrie Women in Business celebration, which recognizes the leadership and success of women in our business community. Through the Scotiabank Women Initiative, we assist women who are leading businesses to support their sustainability and growth, while also addressing an important social challenge. We believe in empowering women by prioritizing equality, challenging existing stereotypes, and helping women take their business to the next level. As a Scotiabank business banking leader, I believe there has never been a better time to be a woman in business, especially in our great city of Barrie, and Scotiabank is here to support you.
Hi everyone, Innovative Automation is pleased to be a sponsor for this event, an event that will recognize and honor the amazing accomplishments of women making a difference across our great community. This event will encourage ambition, empower confidence, and inspire new female leaders now and into the future. To all of the young future leaders taking part today, I'd like to share some advice. As a 2019 recipient of the Women in Business Award, I advise you to never stop learning, never stop challenging yourself, put yourself out of your comfort zone often, and you will grow. Recognize your strengths and use them every day. But most of all, be really happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Kim. And thank you for making this possible today. We're so excited to have you here along with us. And now I would like to invite this very special lady to say a couple of words before we get to our keynote speaker. She's the second vice president of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce. Sandy, how many presidents do we have? Just
we have one and then a first and second, yes.
One of the first, okay, so we have the second vice president of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce with us, Sandy Tuckey, to say a few words.
Thank you, Tara. On behalf of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank each and every one of you for watching today. One of the key components of the Women in Business Awards year after year is the incredible energy in the room when you gather 300 people to celebrate amazing women in our business community. As this was not possible this year, the planning committee decided to take a different approach. With the support of our incredible sponsors, we've been able to put together a slate of activities that will highlight the resilience of achievements of the women in business in Barrie. I am personally so excited to hear Jayne speak today and listen and learn from all the inspiring stories we have to be sharing over the coming weeks. Before I hand this back to you, Tara, I would like to acknowledge our gratitude to the 2021 Women in Business sponsors. Scotiabank, Innovative Automation, Grant Thornton LLP, the City of Barrie, Invest Barrie, TD Canada Trust, Electra Utilities, Siva Creative, Big 101.1, Fresh 93.1 Radio, Rock 95, Cool FM, Barrie 360, Downtown Barrie, Barriston Law, and Baker Studios. Back to you, Tara.
Thank you, Sandy. Again, not possible without our sponsors. And want to thank the Chamber for the great job that they have done supporting our local businesses too through this last just over a year as of next week. So thank you to the Barrie Chamber of Commerce for their support for all our local businesses. Okay, before I introduce our speaker today, I want to sort of outline how it's going to go. Once Jayne speaks, we're going to have a question and answer period. So it's going to be more of a conversation. It's not going to be a formal interview. We want to just talk with Jayne. So if you have a question for Jayne, you can log in with a question and answer. We're going to try to get to as many as we can. Probably won't get to all of them, but we're hoping to have a lot of them coming up for Jayne once she's done her speech coming up in just a few minutes. So that's how we're going to run the question and answer, and it'll be after Jayne's speech, and we'll go from there. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker today. Jayne has been with the Barrie TV station for almost 40 years. You don't hear about that in this industry anymore. It just shows you and is a testament to how much respect she has in this community and with her colleagues. She's been a talk show host. She's been a reporter. She's been a promotions coordinator. She's watched hundreds of people coming and going from the station, going to Toronto, coming from Toronto through Barrie to other places. Because of the pandemic, Jayne has been working from home the last little while. She's been writing for the news. She's also been doing radio news, 3 stations. She's been very busy at home. It's not been a rest, that's for sure. And in fact, I'm not surprised she's doing a lot of writing, because I remember Lance Chilton once telling me about Jayne that if you have any English questions, she is the most literate person I have ever met in my life. He said, you have to ask Jayne. She is so good at English. She knows all of it. So if you have any questions, she's the one to ask. In her spare time, when she has it, she's a registered nutritional counselor, a Reiki master, and soon to be author. We are so excited that Jayne is going to be writing a book. Of course, it's going to be including the very difficult journey with breast cancer that she just went through, her diagnosis, her treatment, how she's feeling now. It's going to answer a lot of questions that you might have. And she's also going to help you with some advice on how to boost your immune system to avoid that, or some other alternative treatments that you can look at if you do receive that diagnosis. It's also about counting your blessings during one of the darkest times in your lives. And I think this is the book that every woman needs, and we cannot wait for her to finish it. And without further ado, we'd like to welcome Jayne Pritchard from CTV Barrie.
Thank you very much, Tara. Thank you for those lovely, kind words. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me. I'm very touched and honored, and I've been overwhelmed by the support and encouragement and concern I've been getting from people for 3 years now, because that's how long this ordeal has been, and it's not over yet, although there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a bright light, I'm pleased to say. Yes, this all started just about 3 years ago, just a little over. It was the end of February 2018, I got this diagnosis, and the reason I talk about it and share my story is because I want to make sure everyone gets the diagnostic tests they need. I'm not just talking women, I'm talking men as well. It's so important that you get what you need, that you don't put off these tests like I almost did. I was this close to saying, I don't need a mammogram this year. I'm fine, I'm healthy, I take care of myself. They never find anything, except maybe that one time, and that turned out to be nothing. If I had left it one more year, I hate to think where I'd be now, because they caught a very aggressive type of tumor early. So I'm so grateful that I took that step. So I'm sharing my story. So I encourage you all not to put off any tests, whether it be mammograms or colonoscopies or whatever the case is. Get what you need and take care of yourself. And the other reasons I want to talk about my story is I want you to know you can come out the other side just fine. You live through it. You do survive this. You can survive this quite well. And I think a better person. You just look at life differently. You have a different appreciation for things, smaller things. You let little things that used to bother you not bother you so much anymore. life changes. I think you learn how strong you are as a person when you go through something like this. You learn how much you mean to people. For instance, I went public with my message and I thought, oh, I might get a few cards from people, a few get well cards. I really thought that's what would happen, that a few of the viewers would send me a card. The people, probably older viewers who are used to writing cards, I wouldn't get the emails. I would get a few nice get well cards. Well, there's a photograph that we can show you of the reaction to my message within a few hours after I went public with this. And I was absolutely astounded. And this message went on the air the first day of my medical leave when I went public with my breast cancer diagnosis. My phone blew up. People were reaching out in all sorts of different ways. And that's 139,000 people reacted to this. And I get emotional when I see this because I was just not expecting it. And I'm just so grateful that people cared and showed how they cared. And this was in a few hours, and there was more. Tony Grace, who I was anchoring with before I left, brought over a banker's box of cards, not just a few, a banker's box full of cards. And they were nice enough at the station to make up a book. It was spiral bound book with all the emails that came in and that came into our news email box. And it took me days and days and days to go through them all. So I'm very grateful because you know what? It's very healing. It does a lot for a person's heart when they know people care about them and they're concerned about them. My first surgery was a mastectomy, and that's a horrible thing to imagine having to go through. You hear of other women going through it, but I was the 1 in 8 because those are the statistics. 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer, and of course it crushes you to your core. And you are numb. I felt like I was in the twilight zone after I got the diagnosis. Everything's the same, but everything's different. And I was alone when I got the diagnosis because my doctor called me from Florida to tell me, and my husband couldn't be reached, and I was alone with this. So that was difficult. But the first surgery, the first of 7, I might add, the first was a mastectomy. And that was very, very difficult. It was about 10 days before I was able to get out and walk around the neighborhood. And I couldn't do my hair, but God bless my husband, who I called Husband of the Year. I have a picture of him. He was the first to shampoo and blow dry my hair for me. And I think he did a pretty good job. Considering that's not his forte at all and had never done it before. So that's one of the things that happens when you go through an ordeal like this. Your relationships become stronger. People step up in ways you never imagined. And that's one of them. My wonderful husband, Rick, doing my hair for me, and my stepdaughter did, and my daughter-in-law did. So I had a number of people come in and do that duty for me, which was just great. It's a lovely, lovely treat. Well, after the mastectomy, I thought, well, the worst is over. Well, it wasn't. They didn't get all of the cells. And that was crushing too, because I thought, but after all I've been through, I thought that would be it and we could move on to the next stage of reconstruction. But no, 3.5 weeks after the mastectomy, I had to have a lumpectomy. And I almost canceled that. I thought, well, maybe these cells won't turn into anything. Oops, I've just lost a picture. I don't know what that means. Have I lost you? Oh, there we go. So 3.5 weeks after the mastectomy, I had surgery number 2, and it was the lumpectomy. And I have a picture of my surgeon, Dr. Renee Hanrahan, who is amazing. Wow, what a wonderful bedside manner. She is so compassionate and understanding, and she helped me through this so much. She is incredibly gifted, and people come from all over Canada to train with her. She does things that other people don't do. And so she trains other surgeons. And she did all 7 of my surgeries for me. And she's just a wonderful person. I love her to bits. That's Dr. Renee Hanrahan. And when I spoke to other people about what they've been through, many other people also had her and said, isn't she great? Isn't she wonderful? And I said, absolutely. So then after I came through the lumpectomy, I thought, wow, I'm finally starting to feel better. And I had a picture taken of me on the bow of our boat, and it just said so much. I like to look at that picture because it made me feel, oh, I've made it here. I've made it this far. I've made it through a mastectomy. I've made it through a lumpectomy. And life is pretty good now. I'm feeling good. I was never sick a day, but of course you're in pain and you have limited mobility and you're very, very tired. And I was feeling good. And I said to Rick, you got to get a picture of this because this demonstrates how I feel. And I wanted to have that to look at regularly to remind myself that I had come a long way, but I still had a long way to go, as it turned out. So I really like that picture. Throughout the summer of 2018, I did a lot of alternative therapies because I knew I was not going to have chemotherapy, even though my surgeon strongly suggested it. And my husband and I went to see the oncologist just to say we did and to listen to what she had to say for more information. And it was very interesting because now, I won't put this in the book. This is just between us, okay? But when we asked about the percentages, we said, okay, if I did have chemotherapy, will that mean that my chances of getting breast cancer again would be 0? And she said, oh no, nothing brings it to 0. It would still be 5 to 10%. And I said, if I didn't have chemotherapy, what are my chances of getting breast cancer again? And she said, 15 to 20%. Okay. My husband asked her this question. He said, if you were in Jayne's position, what would you do? Would you have chemotherapy? And this person said, no. So I won't put that in the book because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I mean, these surgeons and these doctors are trained a certain way. Information that I was comfortable with, which convinced me to go a different route. So over the course of the summer, infusions of vitamin C given intravenously. And there's a picture of that too. I went to the Chelation Center in the south end of Barrie. This Dr. Huey was once named one of the top 3 family physicians / alternative medical specialists in Canada. He has 3 clinics, 1 in Barrie, 2 in Toronto. And this is vitamin C that I was hooked up to. I would get 60 grams twice a week. You couldn't possibly consume that orally. You'd be taking it every 10 minutes and you would just urinate it out. So this is why you do it this way. It goes right into your bloodstream. And this is instead of chemotherapy. So no side effects. I felt great either. And vitamin C is so healing. It's so regenerating. It's good for everything. And the person who discovered the benefits of vitamin C has won a Nobel Prize. So I did that. And I did a number of other things as well. I saw a wonderful acupuncturist. She spent 5 years in Beijing learning this. She even learned Mandarin so she could go to a Beijing university for 3 years and then do her residency at a Beijing hospital for 2. She knows more about the body, I think, than anyone else I've ever met. And that was quite an experience. Not pleasant by any means. I hated it when those needles went in, but after a second, the discomfort goes away And then you just feel a sense of euphoria while you're lying there on the table enjoying them for the next half hour. So I did that. I also saw a homeopath on a more regular basis. I have seen one every year for the past 12 years. And I would see her a couple of times a week for some special energy treatments. And in the book, The Truth About Cancer, there is even a chapter about how every disease has a frequency. You see, we're all about energy. Everything's about energy. And diseases all have a frequency. And if you can match the frequency, if you can find it, you can kill it. So that's what that's all about. And she was also able to turn back on genes that had been turned off because of stress. And those genes weren't protecting me anymore. So now those genes, protective genes, are now turned back on thanks to these energy treatments. And the risk of me getting cancer is, like, to me, in my mind, you know, obviously lifestyle plays a big part and stress, but the genes are now doing their job. They had been turned off, which she was able to identify. And another thing that Dr. Huey identified at the Chelation Center was something that no doctor had discovered before, not even my wonderful surgeon. And that is my adrenals and my thyroid were shot. They were lower than low because of stress, probably the stressful job or the way you look at stress. It's all in your mind anyway. And so Dr. Huey once said, these two things are like the policeman in your body. They take out the bad guys. And if they're not operating, the bad guys get in. So he put me on some medication. I'd never been on prescriptions in my life before, but I am now, to get the thyroid and the adrenals where they should be to protect me. So these are wonderful things I was doing throughout the summer. And now, in the fall of 2018, I went through the next stage of reconstruction, because when I had the mastectomy, they put in an expander at the same time. There was a time you had to wait 2 or 3 years to have that done, but they do it right away now, or most doctors do, most surgeons do. So over the course of the summer, the expander was also expanded. The idea is it slowly stretches your skin, and saline solution was injected into it every few weeks. And once you were at a comfortable size that your body could handle, then you stopped. And then you waited a while for some more healing to take place. And then the expander is taken out and an implant, the permanent implant, is put in. And that was done in September of 2018. And I thought, yay, you know, this is just about it. There was one more thing that had to happen after that, but all the surgeries were done. Well, no, they weren't done. I had another setback. In January of 2019, I saw an issue with a scar across the breast. It had split, and it was leaking serum, which is your blood minus the red blood cells. And I discovered this late one night after I got home from work, and I went, oh my God, what am I going to do? I thought, do I go to Emerge and hang around there for 4 hours? It's now 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to wake my husband because I knew he'd make me go to Emerge. So I thought, I'll wait till the next morning. So the next morning, I contacted my BFF, whose husband is a surgeon, and I said, this has happened. What do you think I should do? Well, one thing led to another that led to another. This was Saturday. I contacted my surgeon via text. She responded immediately. She wanted to see me Monday. I saw her Monday morning with my BFF by my side. And she said, oh, that's got to come out. The implant had to come out because I built up so much scar tissue so rapidly. It was pushing. I hope I'm not being too graphic for people. But the scar tissue was pushing on the implant, preventing blood flow to the scar. The scar had split, and there was a risk of infection. Monday afternoon, like 4 hours later, I was in the OR having it removed. That was devastating, absolutely devastating, because there was nothing left. There was nothing that could go back in. She had to wait till it healed. There was a risk of infection. She didn't want to put another expander in. And when she did, it would be, she said I would have to wait about 3 months. And she wanted to wait for the healing to take place. So I was not in a good state of mind after that. I was so depressed. I was so devastated. I was angry, the most angry I've been in my life about anything. I felt my body had let me down again, and I wouldn't let my husband see me this way. I wouldn't let anyone see me this way. I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror, and I know that's not very healthy, as my surgeon kept telling me, but I couldn't do it. And the only person who saw me was my surgeon, and then later, my wonderful massage therapist. She helped to generate some healing there. So after the deconstruction on the Monday, Friday, we flew to Jamaica for our scheduled trip down south. And I have a picture of me on the beach there. And it was my BFF who bought me this bikini because she knew that style of halter top would disguise anything, and it did. That was also my birthday. And so that was exactly, so the deconstruction surgery was the Monday. Friday, we flew to Jamaica. This is Monday. So 1 week after surgery, also my birthday. I was like, okay, no one knows. I can disguise it. I'm feeling pretty good. The sunshine's making me feel good. I'm okay at the moment. I would have meltdowns most days, but in between, I had a smile on my face and I felt okay. I wasn't 100% okay, but that certainly helped me feel better for 10 days when I was going through this. Well, the 3 months that I had to wait turned into 8 months because my body just wasn't ready to accept another expander. So every time I saw my surgeon for follow-ups, I'd say, can we do it now? Can we book it now? No, you're not ready now. And I was just so upset all over again. So it was a very, very long 8 months. And I was not in a good frame of mind most days. And it was the most difficult thing I've been through. It was worse than getting the diagnosis. It was worse than getting the first surgery, the second surgery. It was horrible to go through that. I finally felt better when February 2020 rolled around and we could get an expander in. And no, wait a minute. No, sorry. It was October of 2019. So 8 months after the deconstruction. Finally got the expander in, finally feeling a little more normal. And then I then had that swapped out for a permanent implant a few months later. And I have a picture of me in the hospital bed. And one of those surgeries, and it might have been when the expander was swapped out for the implant, I was in so much pain that particular time. They gave me a lot of drugs. And I had a saying, and I know it's off color, and I know it's not socially acceptable to say this and politically correct, but my saying quite often was say yes to drugs, because every time I had surgery, I needed them, but only for maybe 3 days, maybe 4 days. I never, ever finished the prescription that was given to me. I'm not the type of person that would be worried about getting hooked on anything. So so that was one particular surgery that was really, really hard to recover from. They had to keep me in overnight, but I said yes to drugs, and that helped me get through it. When the recovery room nurse took me upstairs to my room and introduced me to my room nurse, she had to tell me all the things I'd been on. And the nurse ran out of room on the sheet. She had to turn the page sideways, and then she had to turn it over because there was a very, very long list of all the things they had given me while in the recovery room. And I overheard the recovery room nurse say to the other one, if she hadn't been in so much pain, there's no way she could have handled all those narcotics. So I wasn't just, saying I was in pain for the heck of it. I really was that time. But I bounced back because there's another picture of me eating. There's a tray just full of food. And I must say that's not all mine, because some of that was Rick's. He had gone downstairs and he had brought me up some food. And because once I was sort of feeling a little better, I was hungry. So he got me an assortment of things to choose from. And that made me very happy. But so now I guess the seventh surgery was when I had to have a lift and reduction on the left side to try and match the right side that had had so much done to it. So much flesh had been taken that it was smaller on one side, higher. So the other side had to be lifted and reduced. So that was surgery number 7. And that was done in October of 2020. It should have been done sooner, but the pandemic delayed a lot of surgeries. I probably should have had that in March or April. Well, not much was happening in March or April. This was considered elective surgery. And as you probably are aware, hundreds, if not thousands, had been canceled, maybe still are waiting to be rescheduled. So I finally got it done last fall. So what's next? Well, my first tattoo. I'm having a 3D nipple tattoo in May. There is a woman in Peterborough who is known across North America for her work. And people fly in to see her. There's a year waiting list to see her because her work is so incredible. And it's called The Finishing Touch in my book. And my surgeon really encouraged me to do this because she said, for your state of mind, your sense of self-esteem, self-confidence, that will help you a great deal. She said, I really think you should go through with this. A lot of people stop, a lot of women stop at a certain point and don't do the final step because they've had enough of the surgeries, enough, of needles in them, and they just want to move on. But I thought, no, I'll do it. If anything, it's another chapter in the book and something else women need to know about. So I think, as Sandy mentioned, resilience. I think women are very resilient. And when you go through something like this, you find out how resilient you are, how strong you are. And I think it's important to share this information. It doesn't do me any good keeping it all in. I feel that this has happened for a purpose, that it's my soul's purpose to share this and to help others. And I know I have been, which makes me feel very, very good. And I hope that it's inspired you in whatever way touches you. And there's a chapter in my book called The Blessings. And there were more than I ever imagined at the beginning. And I was keeping track of them and I was adding to them on a regular basis. And no matter what we go through in life, we can always find the blessings in something. Things can always be worse. And I think the fact I'm here talking to you is another blessing. So thank you for inviting me and for listening to my story. And I hope that I've helped and inspired some people.
Thank you, Jayne. That was very emotional. We were right along with you for every step of the way you were talking about it. It was, I had no idea. And a lot of us didn't really have any idea what was involved because in television, you go away for a while and you come back and we have no idea what you've been through in between times. Really shed some light on that. And I guess that's one of the things I wanted to ask you as somebody in the public eye, like you are. I'm sure you don't go to the grocery store without getting stopped at all. you receive a very personal diagnosis like this. And
Mhm.
is there a part of you that wants to turtle? And I don't want to tell anyone, leave me alone. Where do you get to the point where you feel okay sharing this?
Well, at first, I didn't want anyone to know. And I thought, well, I can't possibly hide. People are going to wonder why I'm not on the news. They'll see me out in public eventually and they'll say, oh, well, did you quit? Did you retire? So I thought, well, yes, I did want to hide. I didn't want to tell anyone at first. I couldn't even tell family and friends at first. But then there comes a point where people are going to find out. It's a lot easier to talk about it. And then I was happy to talk about it because I used to carry business cards with me. People would stop me wherever I went. People would say, oh, my sister-in-law's just been diagnosed. And so I would say, well, if you'd like to find out more about what these people do and how they help me, here are their cards. And I would hand out business cards in the middle of Loblaws while I was buying celery, because that made me feel good because there, in my mind, my opinion is there are other treatments besides chemotherapy and radiation. And I'm living proof of that. No side effects, feeling great. I don't think I'll ever have an issue again. And so I want people to know there are other things they can look into for themselves. I encourage people to research other things, and there are wonderful people out there to help them. So I was happy to share my story and contacts.
It seems almost like what you were talking about when you went into your first meeting with the doctors, and you sounded like you had your mind made up already that you weren't going to do that. How did you come to that decision that you weren't going to go through chemo and radiation?
Because I'd already done my research about vitamin C. As a registered nutritional counselor, I'm constantly reading, and I was well aware of the benefits of chelation therapy and what it can do for people. And my husband went there first before me because he wanted to have some, what's it called, EDT? It cleans out your arteries. If you have issues with plaque buildup, there is a treatment that you can get. And he went there first, you see. And this was 5 years before my diagnosis. And he met a man there who 14 years prior had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And he went for vitamin C treatments. And now he was just going for maintenance when my husband met him. So that combined with my research are already cemented in my mind. That's what I was going to do.
And I want to tell everybody, you can ask Jayne a question if you want, and we'll get to some of those with the Q&A in a second. We're just trying to make this a casual conversation. Jayne only has so much time, so if you'd like to ask a question, please put them in there. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because we had a meeting prior to this, a couple of meetings to get ready for today's speech. One of the things everyone got so excited about, and you were very excited about talking about, I don't know how much details you have to give me before you have to make me disappear, but you are writing a book.
Yes, yes. Can I, hang on, don't go away. I'm just going to show you something.
Okay.
This is the book.
Wow.
That's the book. And Brenda Wood, who I know is tuning in, she had some advice about what to do when it comes to self-publishing, which I do. And so yes, I do have a book. And in this book, I talk about the diagnosis, the medical appointments, that some of the things that the woman may go through after being diagnosed. I talk about the various alternative therapies that I went through. There's a very strong nutritional component in it. And I talk about my top 10 health and wellness tips. I talk about some important supplements that people should take. For instance, Dr. Huey of the Chelation Center told me that he and his wife have been taking melatonin every night for about 30 years. Melatonin is something you can buy at a drugstore, a health food store, a grocery store. It helps you sleep at night. Well, melatonin is toxic to cancer cells. And, we're constantly making them, but the body neutralizes them. through the good things we put in our body. So this is a cycle. But if you are on melatonin, and I take 20 milligrams a night, and I have done now for 3 years, it doesn't affect your sleep. It did at the beginning, then you get used to it. It's not like you're going to always have a good night's sleep. That's not the case. I take it because it neutralizes cancer cells, and it's just another tool in the tool chest, you know, to take care of yourself, and to ward off any diseases like that. There's lots of research about that and about some other things he put me on. And my homeopath put me on a supplement that has mushrooms in it. And mushrooms are known to help to ward off cancer. And they're not a cure. You can never say anything's a cure, but it's a prevention. It's a way of preventing it. It's a prevention method. So there's some very good things out there that have mushrooms in it that you want to take.
Yeah. Nancy's asked, Nancy had a question for you, and all of us have this question. Do we have a date for when we can get the book?
Oh gosh. Well, May, of course, is my first tattoo, which no one will ever see. That's not one of those, you know. Then I will look into, I'm going to have a conversation with someone who the tattoo artist has put me in contact with, who wrote a book about her journey, who had her book published through Simon & Schuster. I want to see if there's a benefit to doing that or promoting it and having it printed myself. We had talked when we were all together a few weeks ago, or a week or so ago, we talked about October, because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It won't be any later than that. Let me put it that way.
So
it won't be any later than that. Yeah, it'll be this year.
Okay. We're excited about it. I have a question here from Shannon. Hi, Shannon Murray. She says her mom, she's supporting her through her stage 4 cancer journey. She's opted for chemo, her choice. So Shannon supports it. She was preferring alternatives and wanted to introduce her to some different ones. She said, I know you're not a doctor, but can you also do the injections you did with vitamin C? Thank you.
At the same time?
Can you, I guess it's something, can you do it, or is it something that has to be done by a professional, I guess is what Shannon
Oh,
does.
yeah. You have to go to a clinic for the vitamin C treatments. And if you ask your surgeon about doing vitamin C treatments, like mine said, she said, no, not at the same time as chemo. Because it builds up the body, and then chemo's carrying it down. So they don't know if the chemo's working. So you can't do it at the same time. And you do have to go to the clinic to have that done. Is that what you wanted to know? Does that answer your question?
I hope that's it. Shannon, let us know if that wasn't what you wanted, but I see that somebody has there. I'm not seeing past I see we have 6 questions. I'm only seeing 4 here. I'm not sure why. But I'm not sure what Shannon said.
I'll jump in, Tara. There's a question from Faith. This actually kind of takes it a little bit off topic, but Jayne, who inspired you the most during your career, and what was it like to work with Bob?
Oh, let me start with Bob first. You know something? When I applied for the job at the station, I spoke to him first because he was the manager of public affairs programming at the time. He wasn't doing weather yet. And I saw him, and then for the interview, then I was asked to come back to do an on-camera audition. And he said, you can bring someone, or he said, you can interview me. I said, can I interview you? So they made arrangements for me to come in on a Saturday. They brought in a cameraman. Bob came in on a Saturday, and I interviewed him. So he was so wonderful to talk to. He made me so comfortable. I think he helped me get the job because of the rapport we had. And so he helped me immensely at the beginning. And who else inspired me? Well, you know, you just have to look around, I suppose, at people like Marilyn Dennis and Heather Hiscox and Barbara Walters. You know, you take a little piece from all of these women and their lives and what they've accomplished, and you try and aspire to be a little bit like them in some way.
Now, the industry's changed a lot since I know even I got into it. I mean, and women's role in it. I would almost call this almost the last of the old boys clubs in some ways. With International Women's Day coming, I sort of wanted to touch on this a little bit. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen? When you can you believe how much we've evolved over the last almost 40 years in broadcasting?
Well, the equipment's become smaller.
Yeah. I can carry a camera. Yes.
I remember when I started, and I was doing Good Company, the talk show, we had 3 cameras in the studio that were the size of a small car each, and a cameraman behind each.
Yeah.
And then the cameras got smaller. We had fewer camera people, and then when it came to people gathering news out in the field, their cameras, well, I swear everyone had shoulder issues. Everyone was seeing a physiotherapist because they had to weigh 50 pounds. They had to be like this big over their shoulders. So yes, everything is becoming a lot smaller, and they're having people do more than one job. It used to be a reporter and a cameraman would work together. Now it's one person doing everything. They have to be responsible for their equipment and asking the questions and writing the story and doing the editing. So it's like a one-man band or a one-woman band these days.
I remember when I moved to Barrie, it's almost 26 years ago. I remember we did a bowling event together at Kempview Bowl for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm 100% positive you don't remember this. And you were in promotions at the time. And
I remember.
You told me, you said, I don't want to go back on the air again. What made you decide to go back on?
I was dragged back on the air.
Yes,
I was quite happy there.
Yeah.
But Moses, who was involved with us then, Moses started City TV that was then bought by Chum. So Moses, being, the wise television innovative person that he was and is, came up, and he came up to the station to sort of overhaul and revise and tweak and give us a new look and said, no, I want you back on the air. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was doing breakfast television. I had to start at 6 a.m. and I was doing these little inserts every half hour in between breakfast television that was on City, because we were all part of the same family back then. And I was doing those. And then I would, they kept adding things. Then they would have me also do weather during the 12:30 news. Then they had me anchor the 12:30 news. So I was doing the breakfast television inserts from 6 to 9. And then I was anchoring the 12:30 news. Lance was doing the 6 o'clock news, but if he ever was sick, I would end up doing the 6 o'clock news as well, and the 11. There was one day I started work at 6 a.m. and I didn't finish until 11:35 at night.
Wow.
Because of circumstances and not having enough staff. So that's how it sort of evolved. And I tried to get off the air. I didn't care if I was ever on the air again. And then I was put back on the air again.
You still love it? Do you still love it as much? Do you still enjoy it?
I don't care if I ever step, this is just between us, okay? I don't care if I ever step foot back in the station again. I'm very happy from home. I've got other things in my sights now, the book, and let the younger kids take over, give them a place, give them a chance, let them fill the roles. It's their turn.
And what advice would you give someone? I know this is a common question you ask people that have made it in the business and have been such a shining example of what it means to make it. I ask this all the time. What would you say to someone who's just starting out? Because I'm sure you have a lot of people that start out there and want to soak everything up that you have to give.
I would tell them, be prepared to get some lousy shifts, to work all kinds of crazy hours, to take a job far from home, just to get the job and get the experience. And I would have them bone up on their grammar and their spelling, because they're not getting it at school and they're not getting it at home.
Yeah. which I know according to the Lance would bother you. So
Yeah.
there's one final question here. I can't see it. I don't know if Julie can see it. I can only go so far down on my screen for some reason. So it's the 7th question there.
I can jump in. Tara. It's from Marianne. Did you ever run into any obstacles being a woman in the industry? Good question.
Mm-hmm.
No, believe it or not, because where I work and through all of its transitions and different names, CKVR, the new VR, A channel, CTV, no, it's almost like equal opportunity. It really is. When you think of all the things I've been able to do there, as a woman, I've had 4 careers. I've been a talk show host. I've been a reporter. I have been public relations and promotions coordinator and an anchor. So nothing stopped me. No, and nothing will stop a woman there where I work with Bell.
Amazing.
Jayne, thank you so much for joining us. You've shared so much with us, and it's been such a personal journey. I've often said this about you. I don't know, not one person in 26 years that I know that knows you has ever said one negative thing about you. It's glowing, positive. You're so beloved in this community. We can't thank you enough for stopping by and sharing your journey with us. And our hearts are with you. Our thoughts are with you. We cannot wait for this book. I am chomping at the bit. So you let us know when we get it right away, when you get it.
You bet, Tara. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I read something that you wrote similar along those lines a long time ago. I was so touched. You're a very kind person, and ditto. I mean, everyone says glowing things about you too, and you are an institution in this community, and you do so much on your own time for so many charities. So we all appreciate you for who you are and what you do. You are beloved, my dear.
Well, thank you, Jayne. We love you so much. Thank you for stopping by today as our keynote speaker. And thanks to all of you for stopping by. There are so many more events coming up this week we would love for you to be a part of. Monday, the pioneers, the female pioneers that started the Women's Business Network in the Barrie area, Barb Richards and Donna Douglas will be doing a coffee with Donna and Barb will be Monday. And then on Tuesday to next Friday, we have all kinds of great panelists coming up. Angela Baldwin, Baldwin Planning and Consulting, Claudine Cousins from Empower Simcoe, one of our winners from last year, Shaq Edwards, Shaq's World Community Center, Peggy Hill, and moderated by Stephanie Schlichter, the Invest Barrie City of Barrie will be speaking as well. So keep an eye on the Barrie Chamber social channels. All the videos will be there. And we hope you will join us for that and register online at barriechamber.com. We also want to thank our sponsors, Scotiabank, Grant Thornton, the City of Barrie, Invest Barrie, Innovative Automation, TD Canada, Electro Utilities, Siva Creative, Big 101, Fresh 93.1, Rock 95, Cool FM, Barrie 360, Downtown Barrie, Barriston Law, and Baker Studios. Without all of you, this would not be possible. And I hope you can all join me. Of course, we thank Jayne Pritchard for joining us. We thank the Barrie Chamber of Commerce for hosting this afternoon. We are going to see one another in person next year, 2022. I want to see all of your beautiful faces. That's going to happen. Okay. And news before we go, we are going back into the red zone on Monday. Just got the news from Jeff Lehman's Twitter account, the flash on my phone. So Simcoe County going back to the red zone as of Monday. So there's good things ahead, glimmers of hope in the future, and a light at the end of the tunnel. Have a wonderful Friday, everyone. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.